Sally and Josie with Iron Orchid Designs, and by popular demand we are going to be showing you how to do the IOD relief techniques today. What's this one called? What are we, this one in particular?
This is IOD relief techniques.
I know, but this is double troweled. Are we going double troweled today?
Yes, we'll be doing a double troweled and bladed technique. It's very, very texture rich, has a very old world feel that we love, and we're going to be doing it in neutrals for Sally's interior.
And we're going to be using the IOD Decor Stamps, which is actually the only way that you can achieve this technique. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and Josie's going to show you how to mount for using 6 stamps. However, that speeds up the process, but you can also achieve this with using 1 stamp, right?
Yes. You don't have to do 6 up, but it's a great time saver if you're doing large surfaces. So the grid, as you can see here, gives you a great visual guide for making sure that your stamps are laid true. So here we have them all laid out. I've used the yellow lines to make sure that they're good and true. And then this is helpful to have 2 people to hover over your surface, get it somewhat positioned, go your way a little bit over this, and then we are going to lay it down.
Keeping it nice and taut as possible.
Keeping it taut, lay it down. And then we're going to, without shifting the stamps around, apply pressure very thoroughly over all of them, and you'll get a good, they'll cling nicely to it so that they're ready to be applied to your surface. And that's how you mount them, multiple stamps up on one large mounted surface.
We are ready to rock.
Use a thin coat of joint compound easily found in any hardware store, working in about 3 foot by 4 foot sections so that the edges don't dry out before you're able to hand press the stamp into the joint compound. Also, keep a nice feathered edge around the area that you're working. It makes it blend a lot easier when you're looking at the entire wall. You'll notice the Mylar is dripping wet. That's because before Josie places it on the wall, she actually dips it in a large bucket of water. It should be sopping wet. This helps it release from the joint compound on the wall. Once you get the Mylar with the stamps on it placed on your wall, use a foam roller to gently press into the plaster. However, make sure that you are focusing on the area that the stamp is actually in, because the Mylar will stick to the wall and cause a suction effect. It's okay if that happens once in a while. You can smooth it out with the trowel, but if you avoid it, it just helps. When removing the Mylar and stamps, just gently pull from one side to the other. For the border of this feature wall just above the baseboard, we chose one of our stamp designs from the Trompe l'oeil 1 set. This particular design was created to join together seamlessly so that you can use them for borders on furniture, walls, fabrics. They really turn out beautifully.
So we have here 100 grams of premixed colorant, and they are actually Grumbacher Artist Acrylic, and we have 2 parts lamp black to 1 part burnt umber, and we've got 100 grams of this. That's 2 grams per pound for the joint compound that we're using. We have a 50-pound box here, and we're going to mix it because we determined and tested it. On that note, when you are using colorants with joint compound, first of all, go with lower volume. That's why I've got a really dark color, and I know I'm only going to have to use a very small amount of it, so I'm not going to be compromising the structural stability of the product, of the joint compound. And so there's that, and color judging. Color is elusive as it is, and the light in the room affects it. It's so subjective, so you must pre-test your joint compound when you tint it, let it dry all the way, and then judge the color, preferably in the space you're going to be using it, because it's not a white paint base. It doesn't mix and it doesn't color and dry the same. It lightens way up, so after we add this, it's going to look one way. After it dries, it's going to look another. So do a pre-test and really spend a little time getting your color dialed in. Again, this right here is lamp black, 2 parts to 1 part burnt umber, 100 grams, 50 pounds of joint compound. All right.
So to be specific on how to do a test, maybe take a piece of plywood and do a coat of the compound, let it dry, and then
whatever if you're going on a wall that's white as your first coat, then ideally your test board will be the same, because then you're seeing it in context, in the same context that you're being.
So here's our test board.
Exactly. So like this is like our final wall that we're going on, and we would then test our color on here. So let's mix her up. Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah. Here, let me get going, then do it.
You'll want to add the colorant slowly, mixing as you add. This is usually a 2-person job, ideally. Be nice and thorough, and don't cut the job short, because you really want the colorant to be mixed well. As you can see, as Jamie is finished mixing the joint compound with the colorant, the color is nice and even.
So what are you doing there?
We're testing the second color that we're doing our second color trowel with. We're going to let that dry, like I told you before. This is going to lighten up considerably, and we can't judge it until it's dry. The second color on a raw base coat dries pretty quickly, but you can put a fan on it to speed it up if you're impatient like I am. Are you videoing?
Right now I am, yeah.
Okay, so do you want to go a little darker? Look at so that's not dry.
So we're just testing color right now. We mixed up the joint compound, and
we really need to let it dry more to
this
judge
was our
it.
first test, and I wanted a little bit more contrast than that in the second coat, the blading coat. And so when looking looking at this one, and I really like that. It's very subtle, and I'm questioning, is it too subtle? Or I want a little more contrast.
But you can see, like, here's wet. The darker areas on this are before it dries, and then the lighter areas are out, so it's dry. So you can see, you really have to, can't judge it until you test it.
Dry.
Yeah.
Okay, stay tuned.
What we're doing here is we're going on pretty liberally because we have a lot of dimension here. And then we are troweling off aggressively so that we are revealing in our removal, we're revealing the high points, and we're creating a modeled visual effect. And I'll show you that here. So, gone on. We're not looking for complete coverage, so like right in here, we'll leave that. But on the designs, when you take it off, it pops that design underneath there. And then on the smooth areas, it reveals the topography of the area in a way that's kind of a marbled or mottled look. And of course, you always want to be aware of your trowel marks, that you're not creating any undesirable patterns with your troweling. And that's about all there is to it. The net result in this application, we're looking for a very rustic look. So, you know, you're going to, that's going to determine your colors and your troweling, all of that. Okay, so we've talked about troweling. Here we have troweled on and off a second color of tinted joint compound over our hand pressed texture of our first coat. And now we're doing we call blading. We're going to be taking an actual blade, and I actually have a tool that has two handles that's even better. But for now I'm going to use this, and it's an actual knife with an actual blade, a nice thick one so I can get a good grip on it and angle it as I want to. And I'm going to blade the surface. The reason I do this is it gives us an effect that is different than troweling. It hits your highs and knocks your highs off even more, but further than that, it gives you a effect. Well, I'll just show you. You come on in here, so you can see here this area we have troweled, and it's still a little bit wet, but that's okay. That's kind of the nice thing with blading. I've got this, notice the angle that my blade is at, and I'm going a little sideways. So you can see there how that does that. So now I'm going to, let me show you here, which is still wet. There's some really fine text in here. I'm going to see how that pops that out in a way that is different than when you trowel. And I'm not going to go over the entire thing and do that. I'm going to just do it a little here and a little there. And it's going to pop some of the curves and the details in a way that's really nice. It is messy, though it's not as messy as sanding. And see how you get that, again, very rustic effect that we're looking for. Blading is one of my favorite techniques for using with a hand-pressed IOD texture. It takes a steady hand. You've got to be careful. You don't want to dig in and make gouges. You're just kind of shaving across the surface. And of course, you're dealing with the blade, so it goes without saying, you want to be careful. And voila! Okay, let's find another spot where we have, okay, so right here, we've got some fine text in here that kind of gets lost a little bit. So I'm going to go in that, again, you can't get with troweling. Really, blading is the only way to get this specific effect, which we love. It just has such a rustic, revealed look to it. So.
Outro? Outro?
I'm never gonna cut.
Or did you just say outro to me?
I did.
And I have this in my hand?
Just say goodbye or something.
Okay, guys, catch us later.
On the flip side.
Lame.